Welcome to Starting with IEP. This is episode number 19, and I'm your host, Flor de Amelia. So Starting with IEP is geared for parents that are navigating special education. Whether you're newly diagnosed, preparing for your very first IEP meeting, or years into the process and it's still feeling a bit overwhelmed, or actually very much overwhelmed in this process. But what I want you to know that this episode was definitely created for you. Today we're talking about something that can completely change your child's IEP experience, but it's often overlooked. It's building a parent support network. I'm really trying to emphasize this, you guys, because that's really the only reason how I've been still surviving. Because after my daughter's IEP meeting, sometimes I feel like I am too much of a mom. But then I have the village that I have been a part of that often tell me that no, I did what I needed to do for my daughter. And I guess the reason why it's like that is because these IEP meetings, they're just not built-in meetings that you guys have to do every year. They are very much shaped by how supported you feel, how informed you are, and how confident you guys are feeling outside of those meetings. So before we dive in, here are a few action items I want you to do as you listen to this episode. The first thing is follow the podcast so you don't miss future episodes. Second, share this episode with another parent who may be feeling isolated. And third, please visit our website, www.startingwithiep.com, to follow, comment, and explore our growing collection of resources. On our website, you'll also find updates on our upcoming IEP courses, workbooks, and our IEP flashcards that we're working on preparing for you. Also, if you want more information through the Ascenda Foundation, you can definitely go to ascendafoundation.org and find more information about our social clubs for the youth, where kids and teens build confidence, social skills, and real peer connections. The main one that everyone's really excited about is the Pokemon Club. I had no idea how good kids are with that. So we're actually buying more materials. And if you have any suggestions about the Pokemon Club or suggestions for us, or your kids want to give suggestions what we can do for the club, please let us know. Now, the first thing that we're going to talk about is why ParentNetwork matters. One of the most common things that parents tell me is, I feel like everyone else knows something and I don't. I remember one time I was talking to a parent and they were like, if I keep telling them I don't understand or asking them, can you please repeat that, but please help me understand, then they feel that meeting will never end because everything that comes out of their mouth, they actually do not understand, but they feel that everyone else understands, but they don't. But you guys are entitled. That's your child's IEP. So yes, you can ask a lot of questions. Please don't feel bad in asking those questions. A lot of the times, the word that I keep on hearing is failure as a parent. That feeling that you're having doesn't mean that you're failing. It just means that you're navigating a system that was never designed to be intuitive for families. And that's something that I actually learned. Remember I told you, I don't know if you guys remember, that I used to be a microbiologist? I couldn't use that background. Couldn't use it. I felt like I needed to learn. The whole networking part, that came afterwards. I came from Iowa to Maryland, so I was like, nope. I need to learn the system. I need to learn what's going on. I need to learn everything. Because often I felt that same way. I felt they knew something and I didn't. And every single time they tried to put me aside, because my first master's was in applied behavior analysis, they told me to stay in my lane. I remember one principal told me to stay in my lane because he knew my background was in behavior analysis. And he explicitly told me that I didn't understand how the classroom worked. I will never understand how a teacher felt. So then I made it my mission to become a teacher. So I did. I became a classroom teacher. So now I understand that role as well. But I want to share that you guys don't have to do everything that I just didn't know how to make my network stronger. So I'm trying to give you all that information through different episodes so that way you guys don't have to feel the way that I did during that time. I want to say that I didn't use my network as much as I should have. But again, that feeling, you're not really failing. You just have to understand the system. That's it. Because the schools are systems. And parents who connect with other parents learn those systems faster. I remember every single time. Actually, my husband would be the one that would say, don't go to that parent group, because he would know that I would come either very sad, very upset, or just emotional. What can I say? I'm a mom. But I think he just was trying to protect me because a lot of the time he would just see how sad I was. But I was just so sad because I learned of another mom's story and it just made me so sad. I'm like, how is the system so corrupt? How X, Y, and Z? I just couldn't believe it. And I was so sad because of the moms that I was seeing, how they were suffering for their child. And I can only, oh my goodness, I'm getting emotional now. And in my head, I'm like, if it happened to them, it's going to happen to us too. I learned through them so I can make sure that it doesn't happen to Aaliyah. So these parent networks, they actually help families. Actually, so many times has it helped Aaliyah, because I'm like, actually, this other family in this such and such school, they're receiving X, Y, and Z, or this has happened, or actually, I know that there's a case that you guys were restraining a student, and I just want to make sure that's not happening to my daughter. So things like that. I would say certain things to explain why am I behaving in such a way, because sometimes what teachers or admin, they can be, she is crazy. And I feel like actually they still feel that way. But the reason why I react in certain ways, it's because there's history. Things have happened. Things are happening behind closed doors. And when you know about these, you can bring it up and be like, the reason why I'm behaving or saying certain things, it's because this is actually happening across the street, down 2 blocks, 3 blocks away from my house. So I just want to make sure that it's not happening here. Or I've heard my child's classmate, the mom said that this is occurring, but no one has told me. This is why, again, communicating with other families, it is just so important. It is just so important to understand what's going on in that classroom. Or maybe the other family has done a classroom observation and they have seen something that you're sharing with the other families, what is actually really occurring, and then you just didn't know because no one is communicating with you. But again, there's just so many different reasons why. I don't want to say, I'm not trying to talk ill about all the teachers, because there are teachers that are working really hard. Then there are other teachers that I just don't know why they teach in classrooms, to say the very least. I don't know why they're in the classrooms. Why are you doing a job that you don't like doing? So I just don't understand that. Get out of that classroom if you don't like it. Sorry, I'm not trying to be too confrontational, but there are just some teachers there that just have no business. So I think I'm not ready to talk too much about those type of teachers just yet, because I guess I'm too emotional sometimes. The things that I have seen in the classrooms, the things that I have heard other families tell me about the classrooms really scare me. They really do scare me. And I think this is another reason why I do want to share more resources, but I also want to share other experiences. But maybe I want to share more resources now and then experiences later. How about that? And I think it's just because of the emotional toll that it puts on me. But don't worry, we'll get to that, because I feel that we do learn from other people's experience. And hopefully the parents that have shared their experiences with me, I'm actually hoping with time, I know time heals, and then they can also share their stories. So that way we can learn from them and make sure that it doesn't happen, because it's their child, but it can be our child next. So that's how I tend to think about things. But like I was saying, parent networks, they do help families. And the reason why they help families is because they help regulate our emotion before meetings. But remember, after meetings, because sometimes after these meetings, you would feel like, what did I just say? Was I right? It's not even if you're right, because sometimes for me, it would be like, was I too harsh? Did I say something that was too snappy? And I think the reason why is because a lot of families and a lot of providers and the teachers, they see me in this happy state, right? And I guess I could be very jolly. But when it comes to my daughter, when it comes to data, when it comes to progress, when it comes to being her independent, I just lose this face and I become mama bear, which can definitely intimidate people. And that's the thing, I don't want to intimidate anybody. But if someone in the meeting is going to say something incorrect or is going to say something that I do not agree with, I am part of that IEP team. And the reason a lot of the times for children that can say things for themselves, that they can speak up, my daughter cannot. So I feel I have to be twice of an advocate. But if Aaliyah could, we could have broken things down, be like, oh, you don't like this. Oh, how can you change it? It would be things like that. So sometimes how a parent behaves, it's because they know how much more of an advocate they have to be for their child, for their teenager, for their young adult. Yes. Again, these parent networks, they really do help regulate emotions, because it can be very traumatic experience for many families before and afterwards. I remember sometimes in the car, Sean was like, I remember when Aaliyah got her non-public school, I couldn't stop crying. And I was in the car and he was so confused. He said, did you not get what you wanted? I was like, but it took years to get here. And it took so much out of me that it was happy tears, but I also knew that we were going to transition to a new team, to a new school, and then all that change and then learning something else. It was just very overwhelming for me. And then getting to know the new IEP team, because every school, I want to say, has a different culture, how they feel about the schools, how they feel about parents, the teachers. Did you know that teachers also have their own traumatic experience dealing with families? So it's just making sure that you know how to collaborate and work with others. And then if they don't want to learn or work with you, then it's also then the parents. The next thing is that they validate concerns when something feels off. That is so important to know. Something feels off. I remember, actually, this is recent. A few years ago, I knew that one of my daughter's team members, everything I said, she would always roll her eyes. Always roll her eyes. I would say something and then she would roll her eyes. I said something else, again, roll her eyes. So I would invite people in. I'm like, is it just me or is it someone else that I upset? And then every single time, each of them would always tell me, and it still occurs actually, that whenever I speak, I really upset someone. So I like to bring other people in my IEP meetings because then I do ask and be like, I'm actually really good with feedback. Let me know if I tend to be too harsh or direct, or if I need to lighten the load. I do ask for someone to tap on my shoulder, leg, knee, anything, because I'm a mom, right? I'm a mom and this is my child. When it deals with your own child, you go mama bear mode. So let's go ahead and review these things. So why do parent networks? How do they help families? They help regulate emotion before meetings. They validate concerns when something feels off. They recognize patterns instead of isolated incidents. And when parents are isolated, they second guess themselves. So when parents are connected, they advocate with clarity because they get to talk about it. They get to analyze what actually happens. And that clarity actually shows up in the IEP. Now, I'm actually going to be slowing down this part because many parents don't realize these resources exist. So the first one is Parent to Parent USA, which actually this was the very first support group that I signed up for. I'm pretty sure if you put like support group on Google, it'll be your first one to show because that's exactly what happened in Iowa when I knew I needed more than just me because I didn't know what I was doing and I was a very young mom. I was in my 20s. I was in college. And yes, I didn't know what was going on. So this is a national nonprofit that connects parents of children with disabilities with trained volunteer support parents. These are parents who have already walked this road. So they are, I want to call them more like veteran parents. And they offer one-to-one emotional and informational support, reminding parents that they are not alone, which is so important because a lot of the times you talk to other providers, professionals that they haven't gone through that road. And sometimes they tell you, don't worry, with time. And then you look at them, you don't know how I feel. So how do you know with time I'm going to heal? How do you know? And I think that's why maybe a lot of the times, and actually I still do this. I talk to the providers and I ask them, oh, do you have a family with special needs? Or are you yourself a parent with a child with special needs? For me, this part is important because I think they understand the emotional side of me, especially when you're starting off this road and someone tells you to heal. Did I tell you this part about Welcome to Holland? I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready. Sorry. I was not ready for that. I will actually do a different episode for that to talk more about it, but I wasn't ready for that. And this is why I want to make sure that it is clear to you guys that it is so important to have that one-to-one experience with someone else, with another veteran parent, because they understand you emotionally and they definitely have all the information. You don't feel like you're alone, and also letting you know that your feelings are very much valid, that it's okay to feel that way, that hurt that you're feeling, the frustration, the anger that you're feeling, because yes, you're going to go through that anger phase. And I want to say, maybe was it in the first episode where I talked about like the different stages of grief? I want to say that when I went through that program, I felt like it was okay to be angry at the world and no one was judging me. The person that I was talking to, they didn't judge me. They understood. I think I just wanted that. I wanted someone to understand me. I couldn't even talk to my own mom about this because every single time I would talk about it, I would cry. She would cry, but she would cry because she felt bad for me. And I didn't want that. I didn't want no one to feel bad for me. I just wanted someone to listen and to hear, but without judgment about me being angry. Yeah, that was some hard times. So definitely need that someone to lean on. Also, another powerful organization is Family Voices. This is actually an organization that another family told me how it has helped her so much. Family Voices is a nationwide grassroots family-led network supporting families of children with disabilities and special health care needs. They help families connect with family-to-family health information centers, which help support families navigating both medical and educational systems. Their focus is family-led support, local affiliate connections, and health and educational advocacy. Every parent listening needs to know about parent training and information centers. I actually checked out their website just because of how much of a fan she is, and I couldn't believe the different resources. And it looks they're in all 50 states. And one of the things that I saw that I really much appreciated is that they do combine. So there's different systems. In my first episode, I talked about how I really needed to stabilize Aaliyah medically because of all the seizures that she was having. Once she was stabilized medically, then I worked on the educational system of it because there's two different ones. And if one can't be stable, the other one can't also be stable. And there's actually it's different journeys, actually, you guys. I feel like I'll do another episode for that. But there's so many different tips that I would love to give you. But for the ones that really need resources, it's because a lot of the times it's just not one diagnosis. Remember I told you Aaliyah was finally diagnosed with infantile spasms at 14 months old. Then at 18 months old, she was diagnosed with intellectual disability, which when we got the letter, it's actually said moderate to severely mental retardation. That was a hard thing. I believe in the year after that, they no longer are using that term. Now they're using intellectual disability, which is a much more nicer way of saying it. Then afterwards, she was diagnosed with autism. And then, oh my goodness, Aaliyah has so many different diagnoses. And a lot of the times we had to go to see different specialists. So it's so nice to see that there is a nonprofit organization that helps families work with both, because you do need to let the IEP team know about the things that are medically going on with your child. Actually, in one of the episodes, I will definitely talk more about this. So there's just so much to talk about, you guys. It's hard to point everything down in one episode. Now, the next one, every parent listening definitely needs to know about the parent training and information centers. They are often called PTIs. There are nearly 100 across the United States, and they are federally funded under the IDEA. They provide free training and support on IEPs, 504 plans, evaluations, procedural safeguards, and parent rights. These centers exist because the law recognizes that informed parents are essential. Another advocacy-focused organization is Council of Parent Attorneys and Advocates. What they focus on is civil and educational rights, legal education, webinars, and advocacy resources. Not every family needs an attorney, but every family benefits from understanding their legal protections. Finally, families overlook the National PTA as a special education resource. So the National PTA offers special education toolkits and advocacy guides parents can use for their IEP meetings and school collaboration. This can be an accessible entry point for families just beginning to engage. Now what we're going on to the segment is Maryland-specific parent network. So if you guys are in Maryland, where we are, I want to bring this home. So the first one is Parents Place of Maryland. This is actually one of the many groups that I went to when we moved from Iowa. This is Maryland's official PTI. Remember I spoke about PTI earlier? And family to family center, offering free trainings, workshops, and one-to-one support for families from birth through age 26. If you are a Maryland parent and unsure where to start, this is where you should start. The next is Parent to Parent Maryland through the ARC Maryland. Matches parents with trained support parents who understand the emotional side of advocacy. Any program being run by the ARC Maryland is a plus service. There's so many other programs there, but this is definitely just to get your foot in there, get your feet wet. And then there's so many other programs that you should definitely check out with the ARC Maryland. A place to definitely check out. The next one is Maryland Coalition for Inclusive Education. It supports families pursuing inclusive education in neighborhood schools through advocacy and policy support. For Montgomery County families, the local resources include MCPS Family Support Centers, Xminds. I love them. You should please check out their website, xminds.org. It is a parent volunteer group helping families navigate MCPS processes. Oh my goodness. So much resource there. Please check it out. And if you guys are not in Montgomery County, you guys should definitely check them out, because then maybe you guys can learn from this organization and create something beautiful. Because I remember I wish X-Men's was like national, because I really wish this would be so much easier for families to check out and understand each school, each process, each program. It just gives so much information. So please check it out if you guys are not in Montgomery County or outside of Maryland, so you guys can have an idea. And please check out to the CEO. She's very kind, very nice. Okay, also going on to the next, many counties also have special education citizens advisory committees. And when concerns arise, please check out the Disability Rights Maryland. They provide legal advocacy, education, and community connections. Okay, now that I just shared different resources for you guys to check out, definitely help you prepare for these IEP meetings that you're about to go into, or just recover from. I want to share why parents in communities, why they thrive. So this isn't just emotional, it's actually research backed. Studies consistently show that parents of children with disabilities experience 30 to 40% higher stress levels than parents of typical developing children. But social support is one of the strongest protective factors. Parents that engage in that peer support networks, what they tend to report is lower stress levels and anxiety, greater confidence in advocacy, because they just heard what just happened and they're like, this is going to work because that just worked for them. Improved coping skills, and research also shows that parent participation is one of the strongest predictors of an effective IEP implementation. So parents who feel informed and supported are more likely to request appropriate evaluations, identify vague or weak goals, and they follow up for service that aren't delivered. Community also reduces disengagement. Parents without support are more likely to withdraw, not because they don't care, but because they are exhausted. Support systems increase persistence, and persistence changes those outcomes. So imagine going into a room and the whole room tells you, no, you can't do that. That is not possible. But then you also have another group telling you, actually, it is possible. Why are they saying that? Oh my goodness. I remember once, I'm pretty sure it was in preschool, and they knew how Aaliyah's medication affects her speech. And I didn't know the higher dosage was affecting her speech. And we said that we needed more speech. And they were like, the county only gives 30 minutes per week. That's it. That's all they're willing to give. And then in the parent support group, they were like, no, they gave so-and-so 3 hours. I remember talking to a dad, and his son has Down syndrome, and he's there giving my son 3 hours a week. And then I remember talking to the support group that I was in, and they're like, here is my IEP. And in that IEP, it said 1 hour and 45 minutes. But she gave me her actual child's IEP that I can show with proof. I did mention, I was like, how come the same classroom, they're getting 3 hours of IEP, but my daughter's only getting nothing compared to that, only 30 minutes. So I had testimonies and actual IEP that shows definitely contradicting what they were telling me that the county can do. So when you have a community that's telling you it is possible, you feel that you can speak up, that you can say things, that you can be persistent, so that way you can change those outcomes. So again, community, it really does help you guys. And then on to the next segment, it is using parent networks in a healthy way. I want to make sure that I'm clear with that, because a lot of the times, this is what I was telling you, that my husband thought that sometimes when I go into communities, emotionally, it may have looked like I'm exhausted because I feel so sad about these stories. But I want to say it was healthy for me, because if anything, it empowered me as Aaliyah's mom. It didn't overwhelm me. I guess I felt overwhelmed for that parent, but that parent was sharing so we can know through their mistakes and what they have learned, or what their lawyer has told them and then they told us. If anything, that community, it empowered us. It didn't overwhelm us, though for other people, maybe they'll be like, I don't know about that. but they need to be in the group in order to see how we're learning. But again, we do have to understand that not every strategy applies to every child. So we do need to avoid doing those comparison traps. How I would see these parent networks, it's more to help us make an informative decision. It helps us inform in the decisions that we're about to make. It allows us to ask questions and definitely to build that confidence. I do want to mention that a regulated parent is definitely a stronger advocate. As we close episode 19 of Starting with IEP, I want you to remember this. Parent networks are not optional. They are a protective factor. They protect a parent's mental health, family stability, child outcomes, and IEP quality. If today's episode helped you, here are your next steps. Visit www.startingwithiep.com to follow, comment, and explore our resources. Learn more about our upcoming IEP courses and workbooks. Check out our IEP flashcards for meeting prep and confidence. And explore our social club for the youth, where kids build skills, friendship, and that sense of belonging. Please follow the podcast, share this episode, and leave a review. It helps other families find the support. Thank you for being here. Thank you for advocating for your child. And thank you for choosing this community. Until next time, this is Starting with IEP, and I'm Flor, Amelia. Bye.